So as a good practicing Christian, you wouldn't go to a seance. And it would probably be safe to say that you wouldn't play with a Ouija board, right? You don't dabble in magic and sorcery, but could it be possible that you do engage in these activities simply by being a passive observer? Are you participating in these forbidden practices by taking pleasure in them? Since the dawn of cinema, the Hollywood industry has been a spiritualism peddling machine. Today, it's so commonplace that most people don't even bat an eye. I'm sure there's a lot of well-meaning Christians who have seen their fair share of occult movies, despite them having questionably dark themes. Many of these films even go as far to reveal there's a great battle between light and darkness, yet for a lot of sincere Christians, there seems to be a disconnect between what the Bible warns against and one's appetite for entertainment. Have you noticed the increase of supernatural elements in movies in recent years? It seems to be the main ingredient. By constant exposure, you become desensitized to it and therefore familiar with the dark spiritual underworld. Take, for example, the ever-increasing popular comic film series, The Avengers. It's a non-stop mix of supernatural power and sorcery that dazzle the senses. If you ask fans how they'll receive these box office giants, they'll respond with an overwhelming The movie creators have planned for years how to bring their stories together with one goal: to battle a supervillain named Thanos.
What we always try to do at Marvel Studios is we're building the cinematic universe, is look at the big picture, how can things relate across movies and across years. Avengers Infinity War is the culmination of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe as started in May of 2008 with the release of Iron Man 1. And it really is an unprecedented culmination of a series of films interlinked together, which at the time had never been done before. And for us, the important thing is making it all come together. We know they're going to face Thanos. We've been setting that up since Avengers 1.
Who came from a group in the universe called the Eternals. He seeks supreme power and is on one personal mission to acquire all the Infinity or Soul Stones, as sometimes they're referred to. According to the Marvel Wiki, each stone has certain powers associated with them, like controlling the souls of the living or the dead, ultimate control over life in the universe, the ability to see in the past or the future, omnipresence, or the ability to read thoughts and dreams, or the ability to create anything, along with the access to manipulate all forms of energy. Do any of these powers sound familiar to you, in a biblical sense? Only the God of Heaven has these abilities, yet in the fictional world of Marvel, these superpowers are acquirable, making its holder to be like God.
Master, you cannot. Thanos is the most powerful being in the universe.
I also don't think it's by chance that this evil supreme being comes to Earth on a warship called the Sanctuary 2. There's just too many parallels here to be a mere coincidence. Since the beginning of time, man has been deceived to believe that through sorcery and magic, one could attain godlike abilities. God gave frequent warnings not to have anything to do with these dark arts. Leviticus 19:31 says,
"Do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God."
God is crystal clear. We are defiled by magic and sorcery. Deuteronomy 18:10-12 calls sorcery and witchcraft an abomination, which is the strongest verbiage God can use to illustrate his divine hatred for it. Superhero movies are notorious for these elements being incorporated into their storylines. One such movie that sucked a lot of Christians into its hype, despite its questionable content, was The Black Panther. The movie glorified all kinds of pagan worship, with the main characters displaying the practice of juju, a spiritual belief system that incorporates objects such as amulets and spells in a religious practice, basically witchcraft. There was ancestral worship, for example, when the king's mother called upon the ancestors to bring back her son.
Call upon the ancestors. Call upon past. I'm here with my son to John. Heal him.
There was worship of the Egyptian goddess Bast. There was animal shape-shifting, like when the Black Panther changes into his animal form, which is also a form of witchcraft. There's necromancy, the practice of communicating with the dead. In the days of ancient Israel, these practices were so despised they were worthy of death. The Bible has very strong language to warn against these practices. Leviticus 20 verse 6 says,
And the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits, and after wizards, to go a-whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul, and I will cut him off from among his people.
No Christian wants to think that God would set his face against our souls. Those are pretty harsh consequences for engaging in such practices. My suggestion, you should stay far away from them. Don't support them with your money, your eyes, or your attention. So in the light of this, here are some upcoming movies that you should probably scratch off your must-see lists. A House with a Clock in Its Walls, produced by Steven Spielberg's production company called Amblin Entertainment, is nothing shy of satanic. It's interesting that it's based on the beloved children's classic written by John Bellairs and illustrated by Edward Gorey. It's quite a scary thought to think that this is children's material. The writer of the Harry Potter series, J.K. Rowling, is back at it again with her newest occult agenda in the children's film Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Part 2. Ironically, it's said of the main character,
I know he's working under your orders. What do you have to say for yourself, Dumbledore?
If you'd ever had the pleasure to teach him, you'd know Newt is not a great follower of orders.
I know someone else who's the king of not following orders. I also find it interesting that in the trailer for the film, it asks the question, who will be able to stand against the darkness? Are they suggesting that the only way to do so is to use witchcraft and wizardry? Might want to mark this one off your list as well, because my Bible tells me in Ephesians 6:13 that the only way to stand against the darkness is to put on the full armor of God. And when that evil day comes, you may be able to stand your ground. The helmet represents salvation. Jesus is your salvation. The breastplate represents righteousness. Jesus is your righteousness. The belt represents truth. Jesus is the definition of truth. The shoes are the gospel of peace. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. The sword is the Word of God, and the whole book points to Jesus. That means the only way to stand against the darkness is to put on Jesus. Disney is one of the biggest peddlers of the occult. They have 6 films that will hit the box office this year. Out of these 6 films, all of them have elements of the occult. That's 100%. It's not family-friendly anymore, folks. The devil is preparing for his final deception, and spiritualism is preparing the way. The Bible gives clear instructions so that we will not be caught off guard and be deceived.
Thanks, Satan.
It's subtle, actually.
Got it.
The only way to withstand this delusion is to know the truth, and the truth is only found in the Bible. You must not only hear what it says, but you must become a doer of the word. If it warns you against engaging in spiritualism, then it would be wise to heed its advice. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 9 says,
Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness and unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause God shall send them a strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness.
Movies are powerful. They influence the viewer and leave a lasting impression upon the mind. 1 Timothy 4 describes a group of people that once had the faith but left it because of seducing spirits. Don't fall prey to Satan's devices. If it has spiritualism or the occult in the films, don't watch them. The world is getting darker, and it's only by the true light, which is Jesus, not the occult, will guide us through these trying times. I leave you with this thought from the Apostle John. John 3:19 says, "And this is condemnation, that light has come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil." Hey everybody, thanks for checking out our video. You know, we designed these LEDs to help you think about the spiritual impact that some of these films have upon your life. If you like this kind of content, you know, hit the subscribe button below. If you want to help us produce more of this content, then check out our Patreon page. We've got a lot of cool perks there. And also, if you liked any of the B-roll clips, we got them from videomission.com. It's a cool new website where you actually can get some neat biblical reenactment footage, super cost effective. Links in the description below. Check it out.